The Ranger Report, yeah, the Ranger Report. If you want the inside scoop, listen to the Ranger Report. Oh, here we go!
This is the Ranger Report Podcast. News, insights, predictions, interviews, and information about the Texas Rangers from the major leagues to the minor leagues. And now, here are your hosts, Ben Dieter and CJ Berryman.
Everybody, welcome to the Fans First Sports Network presentation of the Ranger Report podcast. Let's see if I can get all this right. Brought to you by Walton's Everything But the Meat. And CJ and I discuss all of our things over Zoom, which is brought to you by Preferred Health Solutions. Check out Preferred Health Solutions by Hibbs Hallmark and Company. And of course, as always, presented by Dallas Sports Nation, our great partner. I think I got all of it, CJ. Man, getting big.
Well done. You went through that. You made that intro your bitch.
I'm telling you.
To quote Talladega Nights there.
Exactly. Getting big is hard. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I can't just say, we're dumb. I can't do that anymore. That we got to actually say real stuff off the top of the show.
And
speaking of real stuff,
act intelligent.
Well, at least while we're talking about our sponsors. After that, we can be idiots again because that's what got us here.
Yeah. All right. I'm down.
But anyway, I am Ben Dieter. You can find me on Twitter at BDieter75.
I am sickified CJ Berryman. You can find me at sickified. No, just kidding. You can find me at CJB_RR. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that's feeling it, especially if you're in the Texas Panhandle area after that nice week of wind. And that Tuesday, I believe, it was just nothing but dirt flying around and winds just blowing everything down. So I know I'm not the only one, but since Wednesday, I have been under the weather.
Well, his name on this episode is CJ Berryman White.
Yeah.
CJ Barry White.
Yeah, because I've got that sexy voice going on, ladies.
He does. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna have more ladies checking this one out thanks to CJ's voice.
That's right.
But then they'll see me and turn it off, so it won't matter.
No. If the video won't get any more get any better because
true, but the audio might. You're right. Yeah, it's still us. Yeah, it's still us. So the video's not going to get
the audio is going to be good, but the video with me and Ben up here.
All right, we pulled off our first minor league edition podcast earlier this week. I did Frisco Rough Riders Media Day, and we talked to people. And if you listen to the audio, thanks for your patience with that, because I forgot to name who all we were interviewing in each one. So if you really want to know who they are, go check out the video, because I have a nice graphic showing who they are, but I didn't do it with my voice. So I may go back and correct that, but probably not. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's already been a few days past, but I mean, great job. Ben did that all by himself, and that was a busy Tuesday for him. He went to Frisco and did the media day with the Rough Riders, and then went and covered the Rangers that night. And so it was Ben was very busy. So please give him a reprieve, and that's probably the only time I'll ask for you to get a reprieve. Right?
Exactly.
Any other time I'll be like, give him hell.
Thanks to Walton's for, funding these trips, because they're our longest running sponsor. They're the ones that the money comes in where we can make trips like that. So thank you to Austin and Walton's. We love that place.
Yep. Austin, appreciate you, bud.
We do, for sure, Austin. We do. And, I'm wearing the hat to represent, man. We do. Yeah. I mean, I literally, I know I say it, but I literally use their seasonings in everything I cook, plus cheese dips and barbecue. So I use theirs. It's ridiculous how much of their stuff I use.
I'm getting some taste back, so I'm having some burritos tonight, and I'm going to be using the Better Burger seasoning on my hamburger.
That stuff is good, man.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, well, let's do what we're actually here for. Let's talk some Rangers. Let's start with our week in review. So news came down, I believe it was either yesterday or the day before, that Jake Odorizzi is going to be out for the season. He had surgery, and he is done for. Not a huge shock when he came down in spring training with that injury. They tried to play it off, but it didn't sound great to me. But, I mean, not a huge loss. And here in a little while, we'll talk about the bullpen. But if you look at the way the bullpen's been performing, it's not that huge of a loss for the Rangers this year. They took a chance on him, and for this year, it hasn't worked out.
Yeah, luckily it's not a complete wash, because you will have him next year.
Yeah.
He is under contract for one more year, so it's not a complete wash. Just shut him down, let him rehab it and get back out there. Luckily, he's a veteran too, so it's not like a young guy having to go through an injury and come back. So just expect him to come into spring training next spring and be ready to go, hopefully. And with that injury, the way it sounded, he's not going to start the season. Okay, we're going to have to put him on the 60-day, and then when that usually starts happening, they're having to look longer term. So that same type of thing happened with Kyle Cody a couple of years ago. It was okay, we're going to put him on the IL, and then we're going to transition him to the 60, and then I have surgery, so he's out for a year and a half or whatever.
Well, this wasn't Tommy John, at least, so it's supposed to just be this season. He should have a regular off season and be able to. He should be able to work in the off season. It shouldn't be a full year and a half. He should be ready for spring training in 2024.
Don't ask me to pronounce what type of surgery it was.
No, I can't either. I saw it and I was like, okay, he had that surgery.
Yeah, he had a shoulder surgery. Let's just simplify it for us.
In case you guys don't know, CJ and I are not medical doctors.
No, I'm an insurance agent. I can get you to a doctor. Yeah,
I'm a teacher. I can read medical terms. But you can help people get to the doctor for cheaper.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. All right. Speaking of Odorizzi, let's move on from him. Let's talk about yesterday. Nathan Evoldi pitched really well. CJ, he was just outdueled yesterday. Yeah,
he was excellent. He was good in his first start. I wouldn't say really good or outstanding, but I mean he battled through 5. He had some spurts where he just kind of lost it a little bit in that start, but was able to get through 5, and that's what awesome pitchers do. When Evoldi's healthy, you know that you're going to get a quality start. 6 innings and 3 runs or less most of the time. Yesterday 2-0 loss. He was outstanding. Just Marcus Stroman was just better, and that's another outstanding pitcher as well. So tough loss whenever the offense puts up a clunker. And that's just the second one that they've had this year. That against Baltimore, what was it, 2-1? 2-1 loss that they had with only 1 hit, which was an infield hit by Josh Young. But so 2 clunkers, and then every other game they've been in it. They've been hitting well, and offense is certainly pleasing. That you love to see the pitching doing as well as it has so far, especially the starting pitching. I know they're still getting ramped up to that 100 pitch mark and whatnot. And Perez got close in his first start. I think he threw 97 pitches in his first start. But they're ramping up to go 6 and 7, hopefully more regularly. But Evoldi did great yesterday. It's good to see.
Yep. And then you and I talked about on our last Major League show we did with Charles that not to worry about deGrom, he'll be okay. And then he came out in his second start and struck out 11 people, and they looked lost at the plate that whole game, didn't they?
Yeah, it must be. I want to know just one time, to pitch 1 inning, throwing 100 miles an hour wherever you want to throw it.
Yeah,
the pinpoint accuracy.
That's the thing, man. And when he throws it. It looks like he's throwing 85, like no effort whatsoever.
He's just flicking it. It's crazy. But he what was it, a perfect game through 5?
Yeah.
And then they got him in the fifth,
you look at the batters, but you look at the batters and they just looked like they had no clue what
they knew. They knew stepping up there.
When you got a 90-something mile an hour slider going off your 100 mile an hour fastball, I mean, you just sit on fastball and hope you guess right is all they can do. And obviously 11 times they did not guess right.
Yeah, 11 strikeouts. So he got 6 innings.
11 strikeouts.
6 innings, 11 strikeouts. So 11 of 18 outs were strikeouts. That's just insane. And the first start was an aberration. And he was still throwing 101. Yeah, I think he hit 102.
He hit 102. If you go back and look at it, a lot of those hits were chicken peck at the ball, and it landed right inside the line or right where nobody. I mean, those weren't hard.
Stroke and poke. Yeah,
those weren't hard hit balls. There were a few hard hit balls off of him in that first game, but the majority of those hits were not hard hit balls.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I guess that's the. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what to do against Jacob deGrom because most of 99% of the league doesn't know what to do. So that you just got to hope that he's off his game, I guess, or he's just not feeling it and not throwing as hard.
Which is what I mean. In the first game, he wasn't feeling it as far as location, which is funny to say because when he misses by like half an inch.
Yeah, it's not.
Some people miss; they go down the middle of the plate. He's like, I wanted to paint the black, but I got the inside of the black. That's when deGrom misses.
too much of the black.
Yeah, he got too much of the
the strike was too good. So
I heard John Gray somewhere talking about him, and he said he wanted to stand in the box one time against him. He said, I just want to see what 100 with no effort looks like as a batter. He said, I just want to see, because he said, I'm not a power pitcher like that. And he said, I can't imagine what it would look like. And he said, he's got such good pinpoint control, I wouldn't have to worry about being hit by a pitch. So he said, I would want to stand in there and just see it.
Well, and John Gray, it's not like he's a soft tosser. He's in mid-90s. He touches 97. So, yeah, and he says he's not a hard thrower. Well, you can say that when you're comparing yourself to deGrom.
Yeah, well, part of his success, and we'll go back to Heaney here in just a minute, but part of his success, John Gray, is he added a second slider that breaks the other way.
Yes. Yes.
And you could tell in that first start that when he mixed those two sliders in there, the batters again were confused. He looked great in his start. It was sad that they lost that game, but he looked fantastic. Yeah, he looked fantastic in that game. He gave up the 2 home runs, and that was it.
Yep, and he, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was about to bring that up as well.
Yeah.
Hicksy brought that up on the radio, that his go-to slider used to be that good hard sweeper, but now he's slowed it down, and I guess he's changed the grip a little bit. Mm-hmm. So he still throws that other slider, but now he's developed a slower, bigger breaking slider, and so he mixes both of those into a game. And he, like I said, he'll hit mid-90s. He's touched 97 in a Ranger uniform. There was one game last year toward the end of the season, whenever he finally was healthy and had quite a few starts under his belt consecutively, and he was hitting 97 just about every time he threw the ball. So it's Gray looks good. I mean, it's just so crazy.
How good the rotation is.
Martin Perez is your third starter, and John Gray, who was your opening day starter last year, is your number 4,
and who looked the best the first time through the rotation. But I gotta say, like, when I heard him talking about it, he said basically he doesn't like throwing his curveball. Mm-hmm. And so this extra slider is almost like now he has a curveball back again that he likes, because he has 2 different sliders. So they don't know which one's coming, because the arm angle is pretty much the same on both of them. It's just the grip is different. So it breaks one way or the other and goes a little bit slower. And you could tell, like, when he threw it,
same release,
his last start. Yeah, same release. You could tell when he threw it, because guys were swinging way, way early at it. And that's what he loves. And then the next one, they'll swing late because they'll throw that hard slider, and it's just, he is becoming such a good, I mean, he already was. If he wasn't injured last year, I think he would have been the pitcher of the year over Martin Perez.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's saying something, because Perez was
amazing. Yeah.
Yes, he was very, very good. And
but let's talk about him. Yeah, his first start was also fantastic.
Yes, it was. And it's
and today, he's playing today.
Yeah, he's pitching today, and right now Chicago retook the lead 2-1.
Yeah,
in the bottom of the third, I believe, is where we're at. And he's got 3 strikeouts. He's this was kind of a lot of what he did last year. He throw a lot of pitches early, and then get, once he finds it around the 4th, 5th inning is when he ramps up, and he gets, he's able to get through get into the 6th inning, 7th inning.
Well, I remember a game last year where he had 60 pitches through 3 innings, and everyone was saying he was going to come out, and he wound up going 7 that game. You remember that?
Yes, and in fact, in his first start this year, I was listening on the radio, and Hicksy and Sandler were talking about he might not make it through 4, and then he goes into the 6th. So it's not, and the games that he starts out, on, it's an awesome game to watch pitch, because his changeup and his fastball is working those corners against righties, and man, it's fun to watch, and it's so good to have him back, and again as your number 3 starter. Yeah. So
hey, quick shout out to, I didn't put this in the notes, but I listened to Zach Bigley doing the game with Matt Hicks.
Yes.
And Zach, I listened to a lot of him last year because I watched a lot of Frisco games on MILB TV. And Zach, I talk to him all the time. He's my Frisco contact. If we need to get someone on, that's who I go through, is Zach Bigley. But man, he did such a good job. And that was the day before Frisco Media Day. So we were all heckling about it when we got there last Tuesday. We were all heckling him about it. But he said that was probably the best experience of his life. And, everyone there is so nice. And he told us, there were a couple other former minor league broadcasters there from the other team from Baltimore that came over and talked to him. He said everyone was so cool. And, working with Hicksy, how can you not enjoy that?
Yeah, and Hicksy's obviously a veteran doing it, and can certainly ease your nerves, especially he goes first. Hicksy will go first,
Yeah.
And just kind of, and Hicksy will, sure, he figured out pretty quick the how Zach calls a game.
Yeah.
And was able to make him feel real comfortable early on. And
yeah, like I said, and Zach did really, really good. I watched the TV broadcast, but turned off the sound and listened to the radio. Cause I just,
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I did was, it was funny because, they're not synced up. So I paused TV until the radio caught up.
Right.
So I had it all synced together.
And it's nothing against the TV broadcasters.
No, I like those guys too, but I wanted to hear Zach. I wanted to hear Zach do the major league game. So
I do it often when it's.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. When you got,
Sandler
no offense to
Hicksy.
No offense to CJ and to Dave, but I mean, Hicksy and Nadell are so good at what they do.
Yes. And it's just I don't know. It's just, they just have just a flow about them, and
I agree.
It's just match just love it. Just love it.
And of course, we've already mentioned this, but best wishes to Nadell as he recovers from what he's going through. We're praying for him, and I know a lot of you guys out there are too. So, we want him to be healthy before. I mean, it doesn't matter if he calls games to me. I just want him to be healthy and happy.
Yes,
I don't want
healthy and happy.
He'll be back, and if he's not, that's no big deal either, as long as he's healthy. We don't care. I mean, we want to hear him. Obviously, all Ranger fans want to hear him, but we want him to be healthy first. So best wishes still to you, Eric, in case you somehow hear this podcast. We are praying for you, brother.
We certainly are, and that's something that he's going through that a lot of people go through that know, but not a lot of people know about. Yeah,
I've
gone through it myself, and
I have too.
Yeah, I think everybody at some point. It's just sneaky, and and you don't.
All of a sudden, you realize it. You don't realize it till you're in the middle of it.
Yeah,
you're like, oh my God, I'm super depressed,
and some people, like I have had multiple bouts with it. Some people go through it more often than others, and
with you, a lot of people with military service, especially, deal with it. Yeah,
and I mean, it's hard to say whether or not I'd have issues. If I wasn't,
you won't ever know.
Didn't have a wartime experience or whatever, but you just don't know. You just take it, and I was dealing with alcoholism at the same time, and I was trying to figure out what. Excuse me, sorry,
no, you're right.
But I was trying to figure out what was causing the other. You know what I mean? Rather than just dealing with both of them at the same time. Yeah. And then I finally woke up and realized that, hey, let's just get this taken care of. Let's just knock out two birds with one stone, or if you're Chuck Norris, 2 stones with one bird.
Exactly.
But he's the only one that can do that. But yeah, so I luckily did knocked them both out at one time, and feeling better. So
sorry, you may be thinking this is totally off topic, but it's great. I heard Chuck Norris being interviewed the other day, and he said that he got to go to a zoo and meet a tiger. And he said, this is Chuck Norris talking, said he'd been down to pet the tiger and it started growling. And the trainer said, back away slowly. He said, so the tiger did. Chuck Norris told his own Chuck Norris joke. He loves him. It was fantastic, though. I love hearing Chuck do those himself. But speaking of not fantastic, the game I was at, let's talk a little bit about Andrew Heaney, since everyone wants him to be fired now after one start. I don't know about you, CJ, but I've seen some guys. Cliff Lee comes to mind with his first start with the Rangers. He was awful. His first start with the Rangers.
We reference that start a lot because you're an ace when you can struggle and struggle, but you still go throw a complete game with under 100.
Yeah, pitches. I know. But I think
he gave up 6 runs. But Heaney.
And I'm not comparing Heaney to Cliff Lee. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but I'm saying
no.
As a first start with a new team, Heaney is not that guy. He had a very bad game. His stuff wasn't there. And I mean, you got to at least give him 4 or 5 starts before you start clamoring that he's not any good.
Well, and they were talking on the broadcast too that last year was a struggle to start as well. But last year was kind of it was a tale of 2 seasons for him, because they decided in LA, they decided, his curveball just wasn't any good. But he was still throwing it. I think they said 25 to 30% of the time. And they just flat out told him, we don't like that pitch. Stop throwing it. So he went more of a less is more approach, like the Rangers kind of forced you Darvish to do. Darvish can throw 8 different pitches, and he likes to throw 8 different pitches. But the Rangers are like, no, with your stuff, you should be throwing 4 or 5. And here are your 4 or 5 best pitches, and you need to focus on those. So that less was more for Heaney at the latter half of the season last year. And so that's what he's bringing to the Rangers this year. And obviously they saw that. Yeah. And it convinced them enough to give him a 2-year contract. This is not This was not a minor league deal, not a tryout. He's here for this year and next, unless released, which the Rangers would just have to eat the contract. So,
well, and
he's going to be here.
I know for me, and probably for you as well, I'm not worried after one start. I mean, was it ugly? Yeah, it was ugly. I was there. And if you think about it, I know you saw the game. If that ball goes 6 inches to the right, it's not a 3-run home run. It's a foul ball. So it's not like he gave up a center field 450-foot bomb. It just barely snuck out to right field, the shortest part of the ballpark, and it just barely stayed foul. And you're talking about he gets it out of inning down 2-0 instead of down 5-0. It's a completely different game.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a different bat.
And that kind of stuff happens. He had another one of those too, like deGrom did, that bounced right down the line for a double too earlier that inning. That could have been foul had it been 3 more inches to the right. So he had 2 balls that could have been foul that both wound up fair, one for a double, one for a home run. It happens in baseball. The next start,
that's just the game.
The next start, that ball will be foul and that home run will be foul. And then he'll leave the inning giving up no runs. So it just depends on, baseball has ebbs and flows, and that's going to happen. So I'm not worried about him yet. Now, if he gives up 7 runs in 3 innings, 3 straight games, then I say we worry about him.
Oh, let's give him a handful of starts before we start clamoring for, make him the long man and bring Dane Dunning in.
Yeah, Dane Dunning, by the way, who came in and did a fantastic job in that game.
Speaking of bullpen, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's move on to that. Now we got that. Let's move on to the bullpen.
Perfect segue.
They have not given up a run yet in 2023, and they've looked good doing it.
They've looked very good doing it. Will Smith came in and got a closed the game out with was it a 1-run game? I think.
Yep. And just every one of them have come in any spot they've come in and dominated the other team.
And we were talking pre-show here about Bochy and just how confident he is, not just in the bullpen, but in himself to make the right decision at the right time, and kind of tell the story that you heard about the giving him one extra batter.
Yeah. Everybody, like everyone was clamoring to take him out. Bochy walked to the top of the stairs. We're all thinking, take him out, and he's looking, and he just stays there. And the next pitch, the batter hit into a double play to end the inning. And you're like, oh, okay. Somehow Bochy just knew in his gut, all right, I'm leaving him in for one more batter. And and that's the kind of thing that Wash used to do too. Wash had that gut that he would go with, and it worked most of the time. Now, sometimes Bochy's going to do that, and a 3-run home run is going to be given up. He's not going to be perfect every game for 162, but I trust his gut so far after watching a week plus of games.
And that's a good way of putting it. Is Bochy is not going to sit there and stare analytics until the papers turn, catch fire, burn a hole in the paper or whatever.
Yeah,
he's going to go by his gut.
But he is going to look at the analytics too, which I like.
He will, but then he's also going to go by game flow and just with going with Will Smith. We didn't hear anything about Will Smith being a closer, and I know he's had some saves in his career, but coming into the season he was not even in the conversation.
No,
and then he goes out there in a safe situation and gets a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
and so Bochy knows that's just veteran managerial experience and. Just being a baseball manager, baseball.
It wasn't luck. It wasn't luck that he won 3 World Series with the Giants.
No, it's not. And you can just, there's a big difference. And we loved Chris Woodward, the person, the manager, and maybe he overthought some things and maybe that was his downfall. Yeah. But
he was the first manager I covered, so I always have a special place. He complimented my beard.
He complimented your beard in a press conference.
He did, first time I met him. So, of course I like Chris Woodward, but I'm just saying with Bochy and Mike Maddox, you can you can already sense the difference on the team.
No, there's a sense of calm.
The players have more confidence too because they know their manager is going to make the right call.
Well, and I heard this the other day. I believe it was John Gray pregame was on with Sandler, and he was talking about Evoldi and just veteran leadership. And Evoldi, whenever a guy's doing a bullpen session, if there's pitchers, if anybody on the pitching staff isn't doing something at the moment, if they're not doing pregame or just doing their routine or whatever their routine is that day, and there's a guy doing a bullpen or 2 guys doing a bullpen, whatever, he rounds up the entire staff of guys that aren't doing anything to sit there and watch that bullpen session.
Yeah.
And that's just a huge, just that little thing, that little bitty thing And that's what we're looking for from these veterans. I mean, we spent almost $900 million over the past 2 off seasons.
Yep.
So yeah, we want to see this, and that's just it. We're seeing it, not just with, as we mentioned, we're talking about players only with the money, but managerial staff.
But yeah, you're hearing from everyone that all these guys, deGrom and Evoldi, and all these guys are just great guys, good locker room people, very encouraging to the younger players. And again, that's what you want to hear when you bring in veterans and you're trying to win. It's just like back in 2009, 10, 11, when they brought in all these guys, had a few veterans in there to help. Colby Lewis was that grizzled veteran back then. You had people.
Even though it was a short time, Cliff Lee and
Vlad Guerrero for 1 year for the Latin players. You had that. You always have to have that, and it looks like the Rangers have that right now. So let's take a short break real quick, and then we will talk about the offense right after this. All right, and we're back. Let's talk about the offense, which is, I don't know, CJ, bipolar. They scored 27 runs in the first 2 games, and they've scored, 8 or 9 since?
Yeah, unfortunately, you could say that about Marcus Semien. Started off on fire, and he's hitting 188 now. Yep. But that's baseball. So
yeah, oh yeah. But I'm not worried. Right. I'm not worried. Nah. I knew they weren't going to average 13 and a half runs a game.
Adolis Garcia wasn't going to hit 380 all year long.
No, and I also knew that they aren't going to average 1 run a game either. So I'm not. No. I mean, like you said, they're going to have spells where they score 5, 6, 7 a game. They're going to have spells where they score 1 or 2 a game. And with the way the pitching's going, they're going to win more than they lose.
It certainly feels that way. And you hope. I mean, you just hate spoiling those 2-1, 2-0 games, but you want to be on the winning end of those. When your starter goes out there and your entire staff only allows 2 runs, you want your offense to be able to be able to handle that. But just for those 2 games, they weren't able to. And since starting off with just beating the tar out of Philly's pitching staff, they've really cooled off. Yeah. But again, it's not like they're facing slouches right now.
No, and they have trouble with off speed. Teams are figuring that out, and they're throwing them a lot more off speed, and the Rangers need to be able to adjust and make better contact against off speed pitches.
Doesn't that sound familiar? That's what I'm saying. That needs MO since Moby Dick was a minnow.
That needs to be changed because they are having trouble with that, and that's something that Tim Hires and the crew are going to have to figure out, and they're going to have to make the Rangers be. I mean, the Rangers have been patient. I'll say that a lot of them are getting to full counts.
They've been very patient. More patient. Yes,
much they're being very patient at the plate.
Guys that Adolis Garcia is one. He's
taking some terrible strikeout pitches.
He has.
That are bad calls by the umpire. He's had some that are. I mean, he's being patient, and they're not rewarding him at the moment.
Yeah, when he starts being patient, he's not getting calls, and that's unfortunate because that's just going to in his mind naturally is going to be. Just subconsciously, I got to swing at that.
Yeah, well, he'd rather not strike out looking, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, nobody wants to strike out looking, but it's just it's going to ebb and flow, and you want it to ebb more than it, or you want it to flow more than it ebbs. Well, you don't want it.
But again, after the first 8-9 games of the season, I'm not incredibly concerned about the offense. I think what we saw against Philly is more of this offense than what we saw against Baltimore. I think, or actually right in between. I think they'll average out to about 4 runs a game this season.
If the pitching staff continues to pitch the way it has,
they're going to win
more than lose. So
they're going to win, 60% of those games.
Yes, and it's
now
it's
again
way too early to be too high or too low.
Yeah, and again, we do realize that the bullpen is not going to go shut out the entire season.
No, they're not going to go.
They're going to have a game where they give up 15 runs. It's going to happen, guys. Don't
want them to can.
Don't say it's the worst bullpen ever when that happens. Baseball is 162. I mean, a lot of football fans that watch baseball forget that every 10 baseball games is equivalent to 1 NFL game. So if you go 5-5, basically, or if you go 10-10. You're basically 1-1, in the NFL season. Do you think the season's over if you're 1-1? No. You've still got so many more games.
0-2, so. Yeah.
Oh man, Patrick Wisdom just got a run for the Cubs.
Yeah, I just saw that. He had a homer.
Patrick.
I've got it up, and Patrick Wisdom, he a cutter right over the middle.
And
right when I saw where the location was before it even hit the little blue baseball, I knew.
You knew it. Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think between the bullpen and the offense and the starting pitching, this team has the potential to be great, but also last year's team had the potential to be a lot better than they were, and they didn't come through. So that's where I think
they didn't even get 70 wins last year, and that was disappointing.
And that's where I think what you and I talked about a minute ago with the managing, and the just the talent and the veteran leadership, you're going to see some of those one-run games turn out a lot differently for the Rangers this year. If they can win half the one-run games they lost last year, you're looking at 82 wins. So,
that was crazy. That's a crazy stat right there.
Yeah, they were awful in one-run games last year.
And then there was that 1 year, 2015, where they were. Wasn't it a record of one-run wins?
Yeah, they won. Yeah, yep.
And you knew that wasn't gonna. Going into the playoffs, that's gonna be hard. It's not gonna work that way. So
yep. All right, so that is our week in review of the Rangers. Looking good going forward. I think they're going to look good as well. But I wanted to say just a little thing about we're doing 2 a week now, 1 major, 1 minor. We kind of talked about it off the top, but we've got a lot lined up. I texted CJ the list of guys I have lined up for the next few weeks, which includes,
I raised 4 eyebrows.
Yeah, which includes Round Rock's manager, a couple other players, and I'm also talking to Zach about a couple Frisco players, trying to get Evan Carter on here, which would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Evan Carter is the number 2 prospect behind Josh Young. Is that right? Or is he number 3?
He's the number 1 not in the majors.
Yeah, number 1 not in the majors, Evan Carter. So Evan Carter is the guy we want on here. I told you off the air, but I didn't tell. I'll say it on the air. John Moore was there too while we were doing the interviews. And we got done interviewing Carter. I said, "Hey, Evan, we'd love to have you on the show. We have a podcast like Jeff and John, except ours is good." Evan started laughing. John started laughing. So, but of course,
because give those guys help.
He's already been on there, so I had to make it sound like we were better than them. So,
yep. Oh
no, but anyway,
good old boys having good old time.
But right now we're calling it Minor League Mondays, the podcast. But if you have a good idea for a name for the show, send it to us, and if I name it, I'll send you merch and stuff. So we're up for all kinds of suggestions. I'll send you some free stuff. And like I said, Media Day was a blast. Thanks to Frisco for doing that and for having us out. And, it was a lot of fun. I should be going to more Frisco games this year than I did last year, hopefully. And so a lot of on-field interviews and things like that. And then CJ should be going.
Hopefully I'll be there as well.
When they go to Amarillo, he can cover the team and get some interviews as well. So we're going to try to really play that up this year. And I think I'll be back in Round Rock this summer for a couple of games like I was last year, 3 or 4 games
I might be
there.
as well. I might go down and visit my sister in Round Rock.
So we might plan that, and maybe you and I can actually show up together and do some.
Do some together.
Yeah. But anyway, and then of course Rangers games and all that. So I think this is going to be a good team, guys. I don't think we're looking at another 68 win season. I think we're looking at, if we don't make the wild card, we'll be right off of it. This
is the calmest I've been about a Rangers team.
Yeah.
And most relaxed about a Rangers team. Yeah. And it's not overconfident. It's just, you just knowing that this is going to be a good season.
Well, what it reminds me from 2010, the one thing it reminds me of is like they barely missed the playoffs in 2009.
Right.
And so I went into that season thinking, they just win a couple more games, we can actually be in the playoffs. And, like you're saying, relax. And we were so used to disappointment like we have been for the last 5 years. I was just like, if they do, if they don't, they don't. And then, of course, they went up running the World Series that year. So I'm not saying they're going to do that in 2023, but I have that same feeling of that. If they do, they do. If they don't, it's going to be next year. I mean, they're on the cusp. Yep. And it's going to be a lot more fun than 2022 was.
There will be people pissed off if they don't make the playoffs. And I get that too.
I do too. We want our teams to be good.
Over 900, around almost $900 million. Spent the last 2 off seasons, and a new manager, World Series manager, Mike Maddox is back. A lot of expectations went way up, but it's hard. I mean, I don't care who you are. It's and who you bring in. It's going to be hard to go from 68 wins to 90.
Yep.
That's a big leap, no matter who you bring in. But can the Rangers do it? I'm sure with the talent that they have. They can. Am I expecting that? No. Am I expecting them to win 70 games and be a clunker? No, I'm just expecting it to be a good season. And
I'm going to take one shot. I'm going to take one shot at a team I like. Just don't be the Mavs, bring in another superstar and then miss the playoffs.
Oh my goodness.
They were on pace to make the playoffs before they brought in Kyrie Irving and then just that was very disappointing.
And injuries had a lot to say about that.
They did, but it's still disappointing.
That is terrible.
I don't want the Rangers to bring in like another superstar and then get worse. That's never fun.
That shouldn't ever happen.
No,
ever.
And, God bless all you MFFLs out there.
Yeah, and I will say I did write a story last weekend, and I was supposed to write 2 a week or whenever they're on their off days, but I was feeling terrible.
No, you were too sick yesterday. I wasn't worried about it.
I was sick.
I'm just happy we got a podcast in this weekend. I didn't know we were going to.
Well, we were supposed to pod on Thursday, and I was supposed to write on Thursday, and we were actually gonna go ahead and do a podcast Thursday, and then somebody else got sick. Somebody related to Ben that kind of runs the roost around there. So
and she needed the room that I podcasted, and I was like, well, that takes precedence, so we're not doing one tonight.
Ben made a smart decision, and I was so glad he did because I felt so bad. Last night was the same. I mean, it's been one of those weeks, and again, I'm sure it had nothing but wind here, and that Tuesday, the wind. I mean, I looked outside my apartment, and all I could see was just dirt.
Oh yeah, that's West Texas for you.
Yeah, I knew that I would probably feel bad. I didn't think it would be this bad, but it's pretty nasty. So hopefully, those of you that do listen that are around the Panhandle area or in the West Texas area, because I mean it's swept across pretty good.
And we got them
large part, and hopefully everybody's either on the mend or didn't get sick. But let's hope for a better next week. Rangers wise and health wise and all that. Just hope for a good week next week. And everybody have a happy Easter.
And thanks again for Preferred Health Solutions, Zoom sponsor, our Zoom hotline by Preferred Health Solutions, Walton's, Fans First Sports Network. Check them out on Twitter at Fans First SN, I believe, on Twitter. And Walton's, and of course Dallas Sports Nation, who has been awesome to us. They're the reason I go to Rangers games, thanks to them. So we love them. But have a happy Easter, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you'll have time to listen to us over the weekend. If not, it'll be up forever, so you can listen whenever you want.
Listen to it whenever you want to.
Listen to it 4 or 5 times and tell all your friends, because we need subscribers.
I expect the ladies to listen to my voice 4 or 5 different times. So,
and then if you're into whatever we are, and hit that subscribe button down there on YouTube right over there and subscribe to the show so that you can see our faces every single week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
With that, deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Ranger Report podcast. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and at therangerreport.com.